Hey, it's JC here at JC's Comics and More, your pop culture superstore. That's 6725 West Central Avenue. That is Toledo, Ohio. 43617 419 531 This isn't quite Tuesday night anymore. This is Wednesday morning, March 6th. Just several hours from now will be New Comic Book Day. I'm just finishing here, coming back to finish some stuff up. I finished here, went to go have a couple of drinks with a few friends of mine, and come back here and shoot this quick video, and be on my way to grab a few hours much needed sleep, and come back for New Comics Day. But this is the new comic rack for this week. Unfortunately, it seems that if I zoom out, then I lose focus. So we'll just do a quick. This is the top row here, and there's some stuff like some of these trades are staying here for staying on the new comic rack for a while. Hasn't sold like I want it to, so some stuff will stay in a holding pattern, so to speak. But you can see some of the new stuff there. Of course, I did my video. And kind of show you how we do stuff here. Every shop has its New Comics This Week rack, and we are no different. I started doing this, gosh, I don't know, 25, 30 odd years ago. Somebody clued me into it, so I started putting my new comics by themselves, and helps my customers to find what they're looking for, rather than trying to play this game of what's new this week. We've got Doomsday Clock there. I'm going to talk a little bit about Doomsday Clock to give you a real quick review of Doomsday Clock without giving away any spoilers, and tell you why I'm so passionate about Doomsday Clock, because I'm sure you on some of my past videos probably heard me sort of rip it into Gary Frank a little bit. There's reason behind that. We'll talk about that here in just a few minutes here. But this is this week's new comics. Of course, the alphabet doesn't end at J. It continues over to the other side of this rack here. But here's something that we have that sets us apart from other shops in this area, and certainly other shops in the country. We've got this rack here. We stand back a little bit. This is, of course, you got new comics this week. This is new comics from last week. So each week I have to shift my comics around, shift them from new comics this week to last week's rack. So we shift some stuff. And then also I've got new comics from 2 weeks ago. So you've got not just this week, last week, you've got 2 weeks ago comics. So if you want me making it every 2-3 weeks or whatever, helps to make your finding your comics a little bit easier. But it doesn't end there. We have new comics from 3 and 4 weeks ago over on the other side. I've got this island here. This is 5 weeks worth of comics on this island. And again, there's some comics that again haven't sold quite as well, so I'll keep them sort of in a holding pattern. But I'll let people know. Say like this Archie. This Archie book came out many, many, many weeks ago. So if somebody brings it up, I'll let them know, hey, you may have that. But we'll move the comics over to these racks over here. And sometimes space is a very precious commodity. So I don't want to have to pull some books off. It's like if I pull these seeds off, will these sell? Once I put them into my bins, will they sell? Chances are perhaps not. Same with Rough Riders or Rough and Ready or Sacred Creatures, Sandman or Savage. So I kind of keep stuff out as long as possible to hopefully that people will find these books and buy these comics, because they won't be looking for them in the back issues. You'd be like fishing. So here we have new comics from 3 weeks ago on this rack here. And then we've got new comics from 4 weeks ago. So each week, as I move my comics, it's quite a process. I have to pull comics off of this rack. First, I've got to count how many comics are going to fit on the new comic rack. This week there was like 60 some, so I could keep like 20 some comics over on here. So then I go from that to the last week's rack. How many comics can I keep there? And so on and so forth. To try to keep stuff out as long as possible. Again, there's comics on this 4th week rack that have been on here for several weeks. To try to entice people, something that they may have missed. But it's a long process to pull comics off of the 4th week rack, and then move comics from the 3rd week rack over to the 4th week, and then move comics from the 2nd week over to the 3rd week, and so on and so forth. So it's a very very complicated process that I do, but I do it and I have no problems doing it. It's that extra step I take for my customers. And then also we do have, in different areas around the shop, we've got a store guide, because there's so much stuff in here. Let's go to a little bit larger store guide picture here. So much stuff in here. I try to do stuff, try to make it as easy as possible, or try to point you in the right direction, because there's just so much stuff in here, and this place is very, very overwhelming. The store guide was made by a very talented employee I had, and I certainly thank him for that. And I certainly wish him well in whatever he's doing these days. Working for me can be very, very difficult, because I hold my employees to a different standard, and I hold myself too, because there's just so much to be done here. This rack here is all Vertigo comics. Let's step back here. This is all Vertigo on that rack. So you've got comics and you've got trades, and of course we do have 2 of the comics on the wall. Look, there's a Hulk with a double cover. And I know somebody's probably chomping at the bits, as he just wants me to do a video on this, and I will do a video, but this just gives you a little bit of an idea. But real quick here, there's a Wonder Man first appearance. There's the rest of this week's new comics. Again, you've got this row here. That New Frontier came out a couple weeks ago. I'm certainly hope that somebody's going to buy that book by the very talented and the sadly no longer with us Darwin Cook. Darwin Cook, God, what a genius. The comics world is much, much poorer off without Darwin Cook being with us. Here we go. I was certainly very shocked this Showtime at the Apollo did not sell. I've had that out here for a few weeks. I would have certainly figured that during Black History Month it would have sold, but unfortunately an important part of history like that is still sitting here. As is that Thanos hardcover has been sitting here for a while, and Time Grunts, written by a very talented writer out of Mount Clemens, Michigan. He's got a Coney Island up there it has a comic theme to it. If you look at my videos, you'll see I've got an interview with him. He stopped here at some point a few months ago. Certainly, if you're in Mount Clemens, Michigan, go check out his Coney Island. And we've got the rest of this week's new comics. We've got the X-Men 12s. Those are copies I was shorted from a couple weeks ago, so I put those back out. So let's go back over here to Doomsday Clock. But real quick, I'll just point out this spot here. This spot is empty. This spot will always be empty. This signifies Walking Dead number 18 that I sold to a good friend of mine, Doug. Mr. Doug out of Detroit, the Detroit area, was the very first wall comic to sell when I moved over to the spot. And Doug bought this when I had Randy Bly and John Campbell from Lamb of God here. They were gracious enough, good friends of mine, to be part of my ribbon cutting. And if you go on YouTube and you Google JC's Comics and Randy Bly, John Campbell, you can see part of the ribbon cutting ceremony. So I certainly thank those guys. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, John. You honor me with your friendship. But we go back to Doomsday Clock here, and I'll just pull this issue real quick. We'll look at the cover, how great that cover is. And I got angry. I got angry at Gary Frank because this book was late. And it kind of reminds me of another book that I really had a great passion for many, many years ago. This is going back before I owned my shop. Camelot 3000 by Mark W. Barr and Brian Bolland. If you've read Camelot 3000, you know what I'm talking about. It ran very late towards the end because Brian was a very late artist. But it was something that I was a fan of Brian Bolland, fan of him for quite some time, and knew his stuff. But Camelot 3000 made me a true fan, and it was such a great book. I was angry because it was just so great and you had to wait, but it was worth the wait, you know? It's worth the wait. And the same with Doomsday Clock. It's just so great. Between Jeff Johns, Jeff Johns is certainly a great big part of this, and then Gary Frank's artwork. It's just such a great book. And, we'll just flip through a couple of quick pages without giving away too much. Finally, Dr. Manhattan makes an appearance in this here. This is just such a great book, and the fact that it's late, it makes you mad because you've got to wait on it. Now, I've got customers that have not read this yet. They're waiting until they have all the issues and then sit down and read it once. Boy, I wish I had your kind of. I wish I had your. Not patience, but I wish I could just wait, but I can't. As this book comes out, I have to read it. I don't have that kind of willpower. But it's such a great book. Gary Frank's artwork, and again, Jeff Johns. Jeff Johns, I got to thinking earlier tonight that he's just of the writers that are out there right now. There's a lot of good writers, but I think Jeff Johns is certainly one of those writers that a once in generation writer. If you want to call it that. That he's a true comics fan, kind of like Kurt Busiek, and Roger Stern also. That their stuff is just so passionate because you can tell they love comics. And you see that with Jeff, with his writing, and it makes it worth the wait. There's writers out there like Grant Morrison and certainly Dan Slott and Nick Spencer. They're certainly not Jeff Johns. Jonathan Hickman, Jason Aaron, certainly some good writers. Dan Jurgens too, as well. But these guys are not in the same league as Jeff Johns. I'll just put it out there. Excuse me. Jeff Johns reminds me, to put it in the football analogy, Jeff Johns is the New York Patriot or New England Patriots. That he's the one that all the other teams are trying to beat, and people could be say that you're crazy, but Scott Snyder, his stuff is certainly, Scott Snyder's probably like the New Orleans Saints. And the same with, Tom King might be, he might be maybe like the Baltimore Ravens. Whereas somebody like Dan Slott, Cincinnati Bengals. But boy, the guys that are waiting to read this, when you guys get around to reading all these issues, you might kind of kick yourself. It's like, man, why did I wait? But you're lucky because as you read issue 1, you can just read issue 2, and then read issue 3, and read issue 4, etc., etc. Much like Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon's Preacher, that when Preacher came out, each issue, I'd get done reading that new issue, and I'd be like, oh, damn. Man, I've got to wait a month. I got to wait 30 days for the next issue. Whereas the people reading the trade paperbacks, you guys are so lucky. You just flip the page. You guys just flip the page and go on to the next issue. You don't know what it was like to have to wait. That anticipation that you knew that Wednesday was coming, or that, or Thursday at that point. Actually, I think it was still Wednesday. It was Wednesday we were getting new comics. But that was an exciting day that the new Preacher's coming out this week. Oh, man, the new Preacher. I can't wait. Oh, man. And as I'd invoice my comics, once I would get the Preacher, much like with Doomsday Clock, excuse me, once I'd get done invoicing the boxes out, man, I'd have to, it's like, you know what? I've waited long enough. I am going to go take this over here, and I'm going to go read this now because I've waited a month. Garth Ennis's and Steve Dillon's Preacher came out on like clockwork. Never, ever was late. But this has been running late, so this is certainly, it's frustrating because it's so good. It's like, oh, man. Oh, come on. Oh, it's late again. Oh, man, it's late another week. Oh, you're killing me here, dude. You're killing me. But I'll wait. This is issue 9. If 10 runs a month late, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months late, I'll wait. I'll wait because I have to. And I'll read it when it comes out. I'll read it because I can't wait. I love the book. It's been so great. People talked about Miracle Man being the best book of this decade. I put it up against Doomsday Clock. When you guys read this issue tomorrow, excuse me, you guys comment. Please comment. Please comment how you enjoyed this, or you didn't enjoy this. If you thought, man, this weight was a load of crap, comment also. But please put comments in there. And of course, if you do like these videos, certainly subscribe. And you do subscribe, certainly smash that bell for notifications. I certainly appreciate that. And also, I appreciate, share this video. Share this so your other comic fans, your geeks, your nerds, your lovers of comics can see how passionate I am with this. Share it on the your Facebook comic groups. Share it just on your page. Tell people, hey, you need to be reading Doomsday Clock. And other than that, thank you for watching. Thanks for watching this. Thanks for taking some time out of your busy lives to listen to me rant and rave about this very, very passionate book. Other than that, thank you. I appreciate it. Have a very good New Comics Day. And spend lots of money at your comics retailers. He'll certainly appreciate it. You'll buy comics, buy some back issues, buy some statues, buy some, lots of cool stuff. Hopefully you got a very, very cool shop that has lots of cool items for you to take your money and to help you forget about all the crap that's going on in the world these days. There's too much crap going on in the world these days for people to get too upset. But other than that, thanks again. Take care.